Well, it's May 2022, and I was going to remove these carburetors and put new low-speed jets in it, and I just decided that because it had run so little in the last couple of years that I would run carburetor cleaner through the float bowls and the jets and the fuel lines concentrated, and then put some carburetor cleaner in the gas and just run it a few hundred miles before I really took the carburetors out, because it's a giant pain in the ass. But in the process, I took all of these tubes off. So I've gone through here and made sure that all of the tubes are back on and all the little keepers are in the right place, and before I put the airbox back on. And the airbox is kind of interesting. It's got this hook in the front here, and that hook goes in this hole. It's got these two little posts, and those two little posts, I don't know, I guess they stand next to these rubber things. But these rubber seals that go on the necks of the carburetor have these locating dogs or pins on them, and I think that those straddle these bosses, these lumps on the side of the carburetor. And then you see right next to those two tits are these cutaways on the side of the carburetor, and I think that those are for these passages right here. So those these dogs act to locate the collar on the carburetor in such a way that these cutout parts reliefs will let these passages have airflow. So when you're putting this back together, you've got to get this thing just right, and otherwise you're not going to be a happy camper, and the thing's not going to run right. So I'm going to dick around with that and make sure that that is done. I pulled this back off again because I wasn't sure that I had I think I had just pushed the tubes back on so I could run it, but hadn't cinched them up, and I was right. All of the tubes needed to be reseated and all the little keepers fastened, so I've got all that done now. I'll put the air box back on, cinch it down, tighten this little vacuum gas petcock down, and then we're going to take the thing out and run it for a bit. Okay, so here's what we want to see, is these two rubber dogs sliding on either side of that boss on the carburetor. So when you cinch this down, everything is lined up right. And you've got to check that on both sides, and you've got to check the whole circumference of this rubber gasket and make sure that it's around the neck of the carburetor properly. And then you've got to get in there and cinch it down with the screwdriver. But that's important. You've got to check it on both sides and make sure it's really right. And don't forget this oil drain tube for the air cleaner. That's got to get connected, and this bracket here has to be on top, otherwise you won't get the air box back on the way it should go. Well, here it is. Still cold. It started right up. Hadn't run for quite a while, so we'll see. I think we should warm it up and take it out and blow some of the cobwebs out of it. Well, there's the bike back in its summer shed, and doing pretty good. I'm gonna got this thing in gear so it won't roll down the hill, but I got a brick under the thing, so there she is. Got a tiny little flat spot right in here where it was before. A couple hundred RPM below 4,000, but much better than it was, and not that bothersome.